Alright, welcome everyone to EB Online videos. This is Braves Robin coming to you with another EB historical battle. This is a battle from last year that we fought. The battle is known as Arausio, and this battle is the single greatest Roman military defeat in history, even worse than Cannae. In this battle, the Romans lost approximately 80,000 soldiers. Wrap your mind around that. That's a large set-piece battle. Now the battle pits myself, playing as the Romans, of course, LMT, Lumen Tuan, Kival, and EB Rocks as the Roman side, representing the Romans and their allies, their allied Italic forces. On the opposite side, the forces of the Suebas, who are representing the mixture of Cimbri, Teutones, other Germanic peoples. We have Arjos, Suedurix, we have Sith DarthLazy, Lazio, we have Ulysses, and we also have, representing the allied Celtic soldiers who sort of were caught up in the migration of the Germanic peoples, the Celtic Viking. Now the battle starts out fast and furious for a very good reason. Basically what happened in this battle was that the two Roman consuls were unwilling to work with each other, and this led to a lot of, basically a huge disaster on the Roman side, which eventually came about to reform the army from the Republican forces, best known for defending against Carthage and fighting against some of the Greeks, to the professional legionaries, who you more associate with the empire. Now, the two consuls didn't really coordinate very well. They were both jealous of each other, and so this led to terrible coordination on the Roman side. Neither army was able to support each other, and the Cimbri, Teutones, and their Celtic allies basically just defeated each in turn. Now to represent this, we sort of started the other two Roman armies back from the other two. Kival does a really good job of running up to my flank very quickly, but it becomes clear what the Germanic players' intentions are, and that is to force a break here at the river and sweep around the flanks. And to help this, the Germanic forces and Celtic forces do actually have a slight advantage in their cavalry department. The Roman cavalry is not quite as good, and you can see the cavalry sweeping around. This is very fast. They did a phenomenal job in this battle of just completely swarming LMT, and I remember getting messages from LMT, help, help, getting overwhelmed, and there really wasn't much you could do. EB Rocks is just really slow in getting his troops up, and here you can see he does get his troops up, and he could probably easily dispose of these cavalry, but he lines them up here and then does not send them forward to close this gap. And so LMT is still really under assault from all sides. Now over on my side, I was a little conservative, probably a little too conservative. My line is a little more solid than the Germanic line, I would say. In addition to that, much more heavily armored. Now I think what did throw me off was the fact that this cavalry was somehow already behind me, not even probably a minute into this battle. And the center of our, rear center of our line is already being challenged by the Germanic cavalry. So I think that sort of threw me for a loop. I wasn't prepared for that, and as such, I wasn't able to bring my infantry into the battle as quickly as I'd hoped. Nor was I able to even realize that the center of the Germanic line was much thinner. And over here, you can see already the Germans are really pressing the Romans. There's a small rout happening over here with these units, the Roman generals fleeing, and EB Rocks is still sort of just sitting back here with his infantry. I don't know really what he's doing. He's sending some guys forth over here, which is good. So they can hope to sort of seal this off, but the center of LMT's line is already breaking. Germanic troops are lightly armored, but they have high charge bonuses and high attack values, so they are pretty good at quickly breaking units, although they themselves are very subject to quickly, shall we say, perishing in protracted infantry battles. Now again, EB Rocks is just sort of sitting around here and throwing his troops in piecemeal. The Arjos in particular, I think, is doing a really good job of swarming the remainder of LMT's troops and sort of, shall we say, knocking him out of the game. I, meanwhile, have been throwing troops into some of these gaps that were created over here, and that's just serving to thin my line so they no longer have so much of a clear advantage. Again, I probably should have definitely just thrown these guys forward, tried to take the entire center and then flank. Over here you can see Kival engaged in a huge slugfest with these Germanic troops. Now these guys, again, a lot of spearmen, but relatively high attack values, good charge bonus. They're going to kill a lot of Romans on the initial charge. And it looks like I would say that the Germanic forces have an advantage in missile units as well, so they were able to exploit some angles and hit some of our guys in the sides or rear, which caused some more casualties than we really hoped to afford in a battle like this. Now over here I managed to get in a pretty good charge on these Germanic clubmen, but you can see that these Romans, and I think most of these are actually E.B. Rock's guys that he just sort of threw forward here, are completely surrounded. I want to say that's 6 units in there. 6 units of heavy infantry just sitting in guard mode trying to weather the storm, and they're just getting slaughtered. And E.B. Rocks is a newer player, so I can't really fault him. When this battle was taking place, this is probably one of his first battles. But his inexperience is clearly showing here. And you can see units just sort of sitting oddly in guard mode over here. Not being very helpful. And the Celtic and Germanic cavalry do not have complete free reign of the back of our line, but they are causing a lot of casualties. You can see over here I finally managed to corner some of this Germanic cavalry and kill them off. But if they've served their purpose, I haven't had the opportunity to get my cavalry behind into these gaps and either run off some of the missile units or get behind and charge into the Germanic infantry. Now I am winning in the center. I have managed to engage his line. His line is very stretched. But he's really pushing here against Kival, and it looks like soon there's going to be trouble on either of my flanks. And we didn't mean to red line camp, by the way, in this match. It just sort of happened this way. 4 full armies on the equivalent of half a battlefield on large unit size really doesn't leave much room for maneuvering, in all honesty. And you can see over here my line is, again, the rear is being compromised by Germanic cavalry. It seemed that every time I managed to gain a slight advantage with my infantry, over here the Germanic cavalry showed up and bombarded me, and you can see my general is really taking the brunt of this. I'm trying to drive them off with my light cavalry, but the Germanic cavalry just outclasses me at this point, and there's really not that much I can do about it, except withdraw my equites. And now, of course, there's more Germanic cavalry over here, and my infantry no longer has cavalry support. And finally, all these Roman units have broken over here. They actually stood for a pretty long period of time. So they're getting slaughtered. E.B. Rocks, again, his forces are scattered. They're killing a lot of guys. He's killing a lot of the Celts and Germans. And sorry for the train again. But he's also losing most of his men on this flank. And LMT is essentially completely destroyed at this point. More or less a spectator. And again, we got some Roman units breaking in the center. Probably has more to do with the fact that the Germans have a substantial troop advantage, numbers advantage now. And you can see they're pulling over some units. These are just Jungenbus, but they are a decent spear unit in their own right, and they can at least drive off my cavalry if I choose to bring my cavalry over there. And instead I'm trying to pursue this Germanic cavalry with my, in the fear that Kival will soon break if the Germanic cavalry can get behind him. And Kival's resorted to throwing his Insensei into the battle, so desperate is he to stem this tide of Germans. And you can see the battle. It's not a complete foregone conclusion at this point, but it's pretty well and done over here. I do manage to rout a couple German units, and I had a slight glimmer of hope that my efforts would not be in vain. That I'd be able to roll up this infantry line really quickly and deal with all this blob of infantry over here. But you can see what happens. The German cavalry gets back here, and the Roman infantry line starts to break. And they're not going to last that much longer. So even with my infantry advantage over here, and these Germanic archers are just doing an annoying job of getting in my way and slowing my infantry down, and these levy spearmen just sitting here in guard mode, they should break really soon, but it's not going to be quick enough. I'm not able to exploit that flank quickly enough. And of course, there's really no hope for my men on this side. You see I had a couple units over here. There was one, a Triarii unit that I had sent over to help LMT at the outset of the battle. Not able to do much. My general's doing his best at rallying the men, hoping to hold off the Germans here, while my men over here are able to hopefully slide down this line and keep the Romans fighting. And you can see I'm trying to move my men as fast as I possibly can, but the Romans on the opposite side of the line are breaking, and yeah, when those guys broke, that was pretty much game over right there. Any hope I had of breaking this German line and then consolidating mine and Kival's troops over here was gone. You can just see this large blob of German troops just mopping up the remainder of my infantry over here. So yeah, the brave Roman consul flying in there to attack the Ulysses. Not much that can be done at this point, except hope to hold them off, and we no longer have any sort of hope for an advantage on this side either. You can see one of the players in their defeat. I'm not sure if that was LMT or EV Rocks, but the battle at this point is a foregone conclusion. The Germans have a cavalry advantage. In fact, I don't think we really have any cavalry left except for maybe my general's bodyguard and a couple equites that I managed to reserve. And yeah, they have probably a 5-to-1 infantry advantage as well at this point. And there you see some of the last of Kival's infantry break, and that's going to be pretty much it. Some of these men are still fighting bravely, including these Triarii and Samnites over here. A couple Principes as well, looks like. And even these Lyrioi Therophoroi. But the mass of the German infantry is still coming over, and even if I somehow, by miracle, managed to chain ride it all, there's still a bunch of cavalry and infantry running around over here, as my Lucanians are loath to discover. Surprising thing about this battle is actually not that many generals died. There goes one. I'm surprised that LMT and EV Rock's generals weren't killed. That was Kival, I believe. Mine is still ticking over here. I managed to hold out a slight bit of hope with some of Kival's units over here. But you can see we're still surrounded, and even these Germanic archers are standing in battle because of the numbers advantage at this point. My cavalry can't hope to defeat the remainder of the German cavalry, especially when supported by all this infantry. And the battle at this point is more or less a foregone conclusion. Although, it was a foregone conclusion basically 4 minutes ago. But this is a really fun battle. It really shows the importance of teamwork. The Germans and lone Celts really had a great battle plan in mind when they started out, which was basically, even though they had to run a fair distance to rush us and take advantage of that gap over here. And you can see this is where my line was. Not really too many dead bodies. Over here on the sides, a lot more dead. The fields of death are pretty phenomenal in this battle. There were a lot of soldiers involved. Probably close to 10,000, if not more. And then, of course, the real slaughter was over here, where the Romans were overtaken and overwhelmed by the more numerous Germans and the more aggressive, also, Germans and Celts. I mean, just look at that. That's just a lot of dead Romans right there. A lot of dead Romans. And Allied Italians, I should say. We should never discount the Allied Italians. They were as significant in Rome's rise to power as the Romans themselves, and yet they are hardly ever remembered. Those poor Italian folk who were subjugated and then later joined in battle with the Romans as approximately half their force. But yeah, the fields of death are pretty substantial here, and the last vestiges of hope for the Romans are surrounded and slaughtered by the marauding Germans who have drank all their wheat beer and are now hoping to get a taste of Roman wine, I suppose. The cowardly consul is fleeing. He's going to get his comeuppance. The slingers are trying to kill him. Slingers are always cowardly. They're trying to kill the generals at the end of the battle when they're running away. But yeah, this was a really fun battle. Obviously showed the value of teamwork. We weren't able to defend against the incoming Germans as quickly as we hoped, and we paid dearly for it. I hope to maybe get another historical battle up, and there goes the general. I have 2 more in store. We have Pydno, which really wasn't that close, to be honest with you. I think it needs to be rebalanced. And I also have Raffia from 2 years back, and that was a really cool battle. I actually didn't participate, but I do have it saved on file, and I would really like to upload that because that is just an epic battle. There are even more men than are present in this one. And you can see this battle had probably about 14,000 men in it, give or take. It's a lot of digitized soldiers for an old game. But yeah, you can see the slaughter that took place here. I held my end of the bargain, if I would say, but the flank of EB Rocks and LMT suffered, probably because EB Rocks just wasn't quick enough to support LMT, and he quickly got surrounded and driven back. But yeah, fun battle. It's always fun to see the Romans get crushed, even when I'm playing as them. It just gives you a sense of, I guess actually in this sense, it's a sense of historicalness, because this is what happened in real life. But it's funny to see them lose sometimes too. Alternate history is always fun to speculate on. But okay, enough nerding out. Thanks for watching, and hope to have some more battles up sometime soon.